You know that feeling when you're just swirling with emotions? Maybe intense joy or deep sadness, anger, pleasure, stuff that's just really hard to put into words.
Oh, definitely. Life's full of it.
Right. And sometimes those feelings, especially things like pain or anxiety, they can feel, well, pretty overwhelming. But what if art could actually help transform them? Not just help us understand, but offer real comfort, maybe even healing.
That's a powerful idea.
It is. And that's exactly what we're diving into today. We're exploring insights from a really captivating column called Professor Moonsong Rand's Breath of Art, which runs on the Top Class website.
Yeah, it's a fantastic resource. And our mission today is really to explore the unique worlds of 4 specific Western painters mentioned there. Gustav Klimt, Edvard Munch, Marc Chagall, and Frida Kahlo.
Okay.
Each one really dug deep into human emotions, and doing that, they ended up offering viewers a kind of path to healing. Their art goes way beyond just being visually beautiful. It speaks this universal language of emotion that honestly still hits home today.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Where should we start? How about Gustav Klimt? He's often called the golden artist, right?
Klimt, good starting point.
You see his work and bam! It's that opulent, shimmering gold. It just grabs you.
It really does. Very distinctive.
But what's fascinating, and what Professor Moon's column points out, is that there's so much more going on beneath that surface. A real emotional complexity. So what was Klimt trying to capture with all that gold?
Well, a key idea here, and something the column explores really well, is how Klimt uses gold to look at the paradox of love. Think about his most famous piece, The Kiss.
Right.
On the surface, it's incredibly intimate, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful. But if you look closer, the analysis suggests it portrays this feeling of being in love yet never fully connected.
Interesting. Like together but still alone.
Exactly. You feel that intense yearning, but also this kind of inherent solitude. It's a complex take on love, even at its most passionate. And Klimt had this powerful idea, he said. Emotions should not be suppressed, but rather embraced with gold.
Embraced with gold. What does that really mean? It sounds luxurious for difficult feelings.
Well, it's not about pretending the difficulty isn't there. It's more like validating it, saying all our feelings, even the tough ones, are worthy of being held in something precious like gold. It gives them dignity, acknowledges their power. It's acceptance, maybe.
Wait, okay, that makes sense. And thinking about his paintings, particularly the women, they always seem to have this quiet strength, this agency, even when they're showing vulnerability.
You've really hit on something important there. Professor Moon notes how the women in his paintings depicting love, death, sexuality, solitude, these universal things are often shown as quiet and resolute, definitely never helpless.
Yeah.
He wasn't just painting objects, he was painting subjects, active participants in their own emotional lives. And that connects back to the gold. It suggests that even our most complicated inner states deserve that golden light, that value.
So it's like his art is asking you, the viewer, where's your heart right now? Are you maybe turning away from something?
Precisely.
Yeah.
And take another example, like Dania, you have this golden shower. It could be seen just as a myth, maybe a sexual fantasy, but an interpretation offered is that it's more like a scene of purification where one accepts their own existence.
Wow.
Klimt, as the column puts it, did not suppress or avoid emotions. He simply embraced them as they were, beautiful and radiant. Even the messy parts of us get to be gilded, in a way.
That feels so relevant now. We're all hyper-connected online, yet so many people feel deeply lonely. Love is complicated, and we often feel pressured to suppress how we feel, right? Don't be too sensitive.
Absolutely.
But is there a risk here? Could embracing with gold be mistaken for just making pain look pretty instead of actually dealing with it?
So that's a fair question, but I think the emphasis, based on the analysis, isn't on beautification, it's on validation. Recognizing that all these feelings, loneliness, anxiety, love, attachment, they're part of the human deal. They belong. The moment you really connect with his painting, that moment your heart kind of melts. That's the start of the healing journey, according to this view. It embodies Klimt's belief. True art is born of emotion and completed by emotion.
So the gold invites you to hold it all, the good and the bad, and find value there.
Exactly. Your heart is worth being enveloped in gold.
Okay, so from that golden embrace, let's shift gears. Our next artist, Edvard Munch, takes us somewhere quite different, more into the confrontation of anxiety.
Yes, Munch, a very different energy. He really captured deep, sometimes unsettling human emotions, particularly anxiety.
And the scream is probably the most famous image of anxiety in the world. What was the story behind that painting? It wasn't just an idea, was it?
No, not at all. It was intensely personal. He wrote about it in his diary, very vividly. Something like, I was walking along the road, the sun began to set, the sky suddenly turned a bloody red. I felt a great scream through nature. I screamed, in fact, my whole body was one big scream.
Wow, that's visceral.
It really is.
Yeah.
So the painting isn't just some abstract terror. Professor Moon describes it as a record of confronting inner anxiety that one could not bear alone without looking away. It's incredibly brave, actually, to face that and paint it.
And you can really see how his life fed into this, can't you? He lost his mother, his sister to tuberculosis. So much loss and illness around him.
Deeply influential. Themes of death, sickness, isolation, they're woven through his work. And he found ways to show that inner turmoil visually. The column talks about his use of twisted lines, distorted perspectives, and unstable colors, making the invisible visible.
Like psychological vibrations on the canvas.
Exactly. Even the sick child, which was controversial at the time, is now seen as showing art's power to help emotionally accept loss.
And there's that interesting interpretation of the scream figure, too. Not necessarily screaming out, but maybe.
Right, maybe covering their ears to block out the noise of the world.
That feels very modern. Like us trying to block out the constant stress, the news cycle, the social media noise.
It really resonates, doesn't it? And that brings us to an idea from art therapy that connects well with Munch.
Oh.
The simple act of naming the emotions we feel and drawing them, trying to externalize anxiety.
How does that work?
Well, imagine you're feeling anxious. You take a piece of paper, some colors. What colors is that anxiety? Is it sharp lines? Is it a dense fog? Just drawing it, giving it some form outside yourself can help process it.
That makes sense, taking it out of your head.
Munch himself said something really powerful. I cannot separate my illness, my madness, my death from my art. He believed emotions should not be hidden, but painted.
So art becomes this deep language for acceptance, for the things we can't just wish away.
Precisely. It's about putting it out there, acknowledging it.
So maybe next time you feel that unspoken tension or emptiness, grabbing a pen, making a mark, adding some color, maybe that can become a quiet structure that supports the heart.
A silent way to process.
Yeah.
A step towards resilience.
Okay, so we've had Klimt's embrace and Munch's confrontation. Let's turn now to Marc Chagall. His paintings are so different again. They often seem, well, kind of confused and illogical at first glance, right? Floating people, flying goats.
Yeah. They definitely have a dreamlike quality.
But somehow they give off this incredible warmth and comfort. How does he pull that off?
It's fascinating. According to Professor Moon's analysis, the key is Chagall's lifelong focus on memory and love. He famously said, I did not see reality, I only saw my heart.
Only saw his heart.
Yeah. His paintings are like fragments of memories that arise within me. They're rooted so deeply in his childhood in Belarus, his Jewish upbringing, his village, his family, the music. That was his source material, always.
And it's amazing he kept painting those things, his home, his family, even when he was living far away, even through the horrors of World War II and immense personal loss.
It was his anchor. Painting was how he remembered who he was. He kept that inner world alive.
It makes you think about your own lost village, doesn't it? Those core memories and feelings that shape you.
Absolutely. And his way of dealing with loss was unique. The column describes it as covering loss with love and enveloping anxiety with color.
Covering loss with love? How did he do that visually?
His colors are key. Red often meant love for him, blue meant peace, green suggested hope. Color became another face of emotion. So when reality felt too grim, he'd paint his memories, but infuse them with these vibrant, loving colors. He created his own sanctuary on canvas.
Like in The Birthday, where the lovers are just floating, defying gravity.
Exactly. It's a perfect example. It shows how genuine emotion can make people soar. It's not literal truth, it's emotional truth. Love lifts you up, makes the impossible seem possible.
So even though they seem illogical, there's a deeper emotional logic at play.
Precisely. His paintings might defy physics, but they offer comfort by sort of painting emotions onto reality. When the real world feels too heavy or restrictive, his art gives your heart wings. It reminds you that there's more than just the hard facts of life.
It's like finding comfort in a dream.
Yeah, and through that dreamscape, we find solace. We remember how to care for ourselves.
So Chagall's work isn't really asking us questions like Klimt's might. It's more like a gentle reassurance.
I think so. It seems to whisper, someone you miss, somewhere you feel lost. They're still alive inside you. It invites you to just sit with those forgotten feelings, let them resurface, and find a quiet comfort there.
Okay, one more artist to explore, and she takes us right into the heart of confronting pain directly. Frida Kahlo, a Mexican painter who quite literally used her art to save herself.
Frida's story is incredibly powerful and raw. The catalyst was devastating. At 18, she was in a horrific traffic accident.
Yeah, I remember reading about that. Terrible injuries.
Just unimaginable. Broken spine, pelvis, ribs, leg, impaled by a handrail. It led to over 30 surgeries throughout her life and constant chronic pain.
How does she even begin to paint after that?
While recovering in bed, basically immobile, she had a mirror installed above her on the canopy, and she started painting what she saw, herself. She famously said, "I paint myself because I am so often alone and because I am the subject I know best." It was a way to process, to understand, maybe even to reclaim her own body and experience.
And her paintings are just unflinching. Like the broken column where her body is literally cracked open, held together by a corset with nails piercing her skin.
Exactly. It's a confession that confronts the pain of existence head-on. For Frida, Professor Moon emphasizes, painting wasn't about hiding the ugly truths or making things look nice. It was the only path to self-recovery. Her brush was her tool for survival.
It sounds brutal, but also incredibly brave. Just putting it all out there.
It really was. And it connects so directly to principles in art therapy.
How so?
Well, the simple act of drawing or painting, regardless of how good you are, helps unravel emotional knots. In therapy, sometimes the question is just, if you were to express your feelings in color right now, what color would it be?
Just that simple.
Yeah, because sometimes colors or images can express things more honestly or directly than words. They bypass our defenses.
And Frida did that on such a profound level, like in The Wounded Deer, where she paints herself as a deer shot full of arrows.
Right, showing that inescapable pain.
Yeah.
But the act of painting it, meticulously rendering those wounds, was her way of grasping and embracing her emotions. Art became her psychological refuge. She contained her suffering by giving it form.
That's such a powerful message for anyone struggling. That feeling anxious or helpless or empty, it's not wrong.
Exactly. Frida's work basically says these may not be wrong emotions, but rather stories that need to be painted. It's like she's whispering, it's okay not to be okay. Let's paint that feeling here. Give it space, give it dignity.
Don't just push it away.
Right. Acknowledge it through creation.
Her legacy is just immense, isn't it? Someone who never gave up on herself, who showed her wounds to the world so bravely.
Absolutely. And her art leaves us with these really direct questions, doesn't it? What emotions are you living with today? And that art therapy prompt. If you were to express those feelings in color, what would they be?
An invitation for all of us to look inward, maybe express ourselves. So, wrapping this up, we've journeyed through 4 incredible artists, all explored in Professor Moon's column. Klimt, embracing love's complexity with gold. Munch, visualizing anxiety's scream. Chagall, painting memory and love into dreams. And Frida Kahlo, finding healing by confronting pain head-on.
It's quite a spectrum, but what connects them, going back to Klimt's idea, is that true art is born of emotion and completed by emotion. They all use art to process the deepest, most complex parts of being human.
And in doing so, they offer us a kind of art therapy, right? A way to find solace, self-understanding, especially today when maybe we feel disconnected or suppress feelings.
Definitely. Their work gives form to the formless. It shows us ways to engage with our own inner lives.
So maybe the takeaway for everyone listening is to consider engaging with art. Maybe go look at some paintings, see what resonates. Or perhaps even try creating something yourself. A way to, name your emotions, embrace them. Find that quiet structure that supports the heart, as Munch's process suggested.
It truly can be that silent language that helps us understand and accept our anxious minds.
And maybe just one final thought to leave you with. How might consciously engaging with your own emotions, whether through art or writing or music or anything else, how might that actually change your day-to-day experience of life? Something to think about.